going on, Wolfpack Nation? We got a banger of an episode coming out for you here today. We got a Pack 9 preview episode, baby. We got a heck of a crew right here. Obviously, we got Greg DeLeg there, ready to knock some dangers out of the ballpark. And then we got Ken Klyman, former NC State pitcher that I think needs no introduction to any Pack 9 fan that's watched maybe one game of baseball in their life. And then obviously it can't be a full distinguished Pac 9 preview without having Justin Cooke on. I think everybody can do a Pac 9 preview, but is it really to the level it needs to be if Justin Cooke's not a part of it? I'm just saying. So
I say no.
Yeah, I say no. Exactly. So with that being said, y'all, so again, just kind of diving into it, we're going to kind of talk a little bit, talk about, previewing, this upcoming season, obviously talk a little bit about, last season, where it kind of leads us to, in terms of returners, transfers, all that jazz. And we'll just have a fun conversation here. But jumping right into it, because we started to kind of talk a little bit about this before recording, and we definitely want to start talking about it here. But the upgrades to the Doak, and obviously, when the first pictures came out, there was, I would say, a lot more negative feedback than there definitely was positive feedback, about it, and a lot of it because, seeing all the turf on the inside, on the infield, and et cetera, et cetera. But and one thing for me too was even how the batter's box itself the turf was black. And I'm thinking to myself, man, is that not going to be hot? But, again, obviously, the first thing which everybody, we will say, and most people have said back to that is, first of all, they're not done. So just give it time, take a break, let them finish. But second of all, Elliot Avent and a bunch of advisors were a part of this crew that designed this whole thing. So, I'm sure everything's been thought through, from, the littlest thing to the biggest thing of all. But Kent, being, the only one of three of us being a former baseball player, I'm sure you've seen pictures of it here and there. What's your kind of thoughts so far, on the upgrades that have been made for this upcoming season?
It's a little different. I think it's going to get some getting used to. I think, I think the batter's box being turf, I think that's something a little different, but I think that comes from at Mississippi State. Coach Avent went down there when they honored him at the football game where he was there a couple years ago, and he kind of saw their layout of their field. He spent a whole day there at their practice and stuff, and he liked the layout of it and how it looked. And I personally, it's going to take a little bit getting used to, but I play on turf now, so all turf is something I'm used to instead of all natural field, and it'll be interesting for sure. I think it'll take the players a little bit to get used to, but they've been practicing over at Holly Springs at the Salamanders. So they've been practicing on turf already, the batter's box at least. So I think they'll be all right with it. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Again, I think, we were kind of talking, obviously looking at Mississippi State, SEC in general, how crazy of stadiums they have throughout the SEC. And so, it's not like, what you're seeing is not common, and in fact, it's being used in some of those common, because we were talking even to beforehand about how it just will save a lot of time and resources, not having to repaint the batter's box and the first and third base lines every single time, and not having to because the whole infield is turf, right? So there's no more dirt infield anymore.
It's just incorrect.
So man, you won't have the crew doing the chain pull, every 2 innings anymore. That's all right. Well,
yeah. So basically the lines are all or turf, right? So it's just the baselines, and then inside the baselines becomes grass. So what's going to be interesting that I think is the bounce, like the roll off onto the grass onto the dirt. You kind of have. Now it's going to stay more true, so that's going to be probably something they'll have to work through. And it'll be a much faster playing surface, being grass. It'll roll much faster. But you were talking the actual batter's box isn't black; it's just a very dark brown. It's like dark brown.
Gotcha.
And obviously, the thing that's going to be a little bit. People are kind of freaking out on Twitter about it and stuff. Wait till the grass grows in and the dirt's watered. It's not going to be so two-tone. It'll be the colors will be a little more similar looking. It won't be as different looking. It's February. It's still early. The Bermuda hasn't come in yet. They just got the sod all down. I think it'll look really nice once everything's, mid-season form, just like the guys are. I think the whole field will look great. It's just right now, like you said, they're still putting it together. So it's gonna be a little different right now.
And the other thing to remember too is that's brand new AstroTurf, like out of the factory. It's gonna fade, like it'll fade over time. So once you have the two, it'll, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but that's not also the one other thing I'll say real quick is don't forget we used to have like a back quarter of turf right behind home plate, so that's not an entirely new concept. Now we've just expanded that, and then the warning track is turf too. It's not dirt, so just something to think about too.
Right. Well, and Justin, obviously, the biggest thing, which I think, we talked about right before recording as well, and I've said this in a live stream, but at the end of the day, anybody that's ever gone to a Pac-9 game is going to focus on, at least in my head, is all they're going to do is they're going to look at that scoreboard and be like, oh my gosh, I can actually read the names. I don't see all the different, like screen pieces. I can actually say, oh, it's 219, not 319, and read the names. Like and I'm just going to be glued to that for every single game from here on out. So, I mean, Justin, I know you've seen it plenty of times in person, but I mean, does it look as nice as what I've seen on Twitter, man?
Oh yeah, it's nice. I haven't seen it lit up yet, but it's nice from what I've seen of it in person. It's big.
Yeah.
It's massive.
Yes.
Yeah. It's gonna be so sick. Because that scoreboard has had to been probably what, 15, 20 years old at least?
Oh, easily. Yeah, easily that old.
More than that, yeah. So it was due. It was due for sure. So again, looking forward to that. But so kind of diving into a little bit here. So obviously, last season, I guess talk about the bow that we put on it, so that way it kind of lead us into this season. But obviously, a lot of ups and downs. Coming out of the gate. We came with a lot of optimism because of one player, which again, I'll tell you this right now that if you've watched any of our live streams or baseball episodes before, I do not call this guy by name anymore. I just say number 47. So, leave it at that. Now, again, you can't. I'm just saying, just so you know, I'm saying number 47 because he done did us wrong. But anyway, so obviously came out of the box and hit like 7 home runs in the first weekend against Evansville, just out of the blue, and obviously then you go on and you lose a series against Notre Dame. You lose a close one against Florida State, but then you sweep Georgia Tech, and you're like, oh man, we're doing good. And then we just kind of a lot of ups and downs, and obviously ending up with the ACC tournament. Obviously beating a Wake Forest team that we just got swept by the weekend before, and then beating Miami, number 8 team in the country, and then beating Pitt to make it to the ACC championship game, and then losing to the Tar Heels, because of one half inning, and so, Cam, I mean, just, if you kind of had to kind of, because I know we hadn't really had a chance to talk to you in terms of, since the last season ended, but, what would your kind of bow be in terms of, would you say it was a good season, a bad season, a terrible season? What would you kind of, I guess, feedback it as?
I think, going into the year, we always have high expectations. I think we're 19 years straight finishing or starting the year ranked in the top 25. So, we like to stay in the top 25 every single year. I think being there for 5 years, I know the early season up and downs. I think that happened a fair share amount when I was there. So, that's just getting guys into rhythms and finding the right mix of pitchers and kind of the right lineup. Mm-hmm. But then, towards the end of the year, once Coach Avon finds, that solid 9 to 11 guys he wants to play in the lineup, and that 5 to 7 or 8 pitchers he wants to use week in and week out, I think that's when you really see everyone hit their stride and hit the rhythm that they want to carry on throughout the year. And then from then on, it just takes off. I think it's disappointing how the year ended. I was sitting in Florence, Kentucky in the basement of my host family watching the selection show, and I was like, got down to the last 2 regions, and I was like, we're not in. I was like, we are not going to make it. And I was like, no way. After the run that we finished the ACC tournament on, and like you said, it was one half inning in the ACC tournament that really, really kind of, I guess, stomped out our flame. But, I wouldn't say it wasn't a failure by any means. I think that team did a lot of great things. It's just obviously you didn't finish how you wanted to finish, and that was just inevitably how it was going to go out. Unfortunately, too, that was as everyone saw that there was a lot of potential with that team, and they were hitting their stride.
Yeah,
I think that ACC tournament though was the epitome or the microcosm of the whole season, right? It had all the same ups and downs that the season ended up, and that it just kind of left a little bit more on the bone that you thought we still had in us. And then, like Kent was saying, I was watching the selection show, and I thought the same thing. I said, we're not in. And I just sat there on the couch. Same thing, was like, this isn't possible. And then you see Ole Miss get that last slot, and then they end up going to win it all. And you're like, well, it's kind of hard to argue it now. Like, that was the team that won the national championship.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a weird one. Weird season.
I think it's tough, too, because with all the fireworks that we had towards the end of the year, I mean, people are tuning in to even wherever we are in our regional, whether we're in Vanderbilt or whether we're on the West Coast. Like, you're going to have more people watching because of he who shall not be named, as you would say, because he's playing the way he was playing towards the end of the year. And, we had a lot of guys step up when Sam went out, and Witt was throwing really well on Friday nights. Willitson was going to be a guy. I think he was coming back, or he might have been back. I can't remember. But we had a good rotation. We had, obviously, our offense was hot, I thought. So it was just kind of unfortunate all the way around, I think.
Yeah, no, and Justin too. Obviously, just like Ken was saying, I think all of us, when Sam Highfield got announced that he was out for the season, it was definitely a huge dagger, for sure, just because you knew that you lost, obviously your ace pitcher, you lost, one of your Friday starter, Friday, Saturday, whatever, starter, which hurts for sure to back that up. And, a guy that obviously, had the season that he had 2 years ago, highlighted by, his performance against Vanderbilt both times. So, kind of give it to us in terms of, just like Kim was saying, what was your thoughts? The offense speaks for itself, but pitching wise, what really stood out to you from last season?
I would say Justin Lawson, especially from last season. Matt and Whitaker, both of them too. They pitched real good. I think if we made a regional, Chris Billman probably would have been one of the weekend guys during the regional. Yeah. Once he came in, it was basically shut Carolina down the rest of the game.
True.
But I think our pitching, at the end of the year, I think the pitching got better. I think the last game, I think we just ran out of gas. Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah. You mentioned in that Carolina game, he retired all 12 batters, and 8 of them were by strikeout. He was untouchable. The one thing I will say, though, losing Highfield is now you bumped everyone up a spot, right? And so you had guys that you were probably leaning on for long relief. They're now starting, and guys that you were maybe only hoping for an inning or two a game, now they're forced to pitch, 3-4 innings potentially. And that's really hard to absorb when we were kind of thin in, the word quality pitcher is probably not the right word, but maybe guys that you were going to lean heavier on. So it put a lot of taxing and stressing. And then it changes your midweek too. Everything gets into a flux when you have pitching woes or injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. So, moving into this season now. So obviously one of the biggest things I think honestly is the most exciting to me is I feel like we honestly have a lot of production back, a lot, really looking at these names, like, just like, you just mentioned, Justin, Justin Lawson, you're getting back, Carson Kelly, Will Marcy, Peyton Green, LeJames Groover, who I think honestly isn't getting talked about enough as he should. That guy was Mr. On Base last year, and so to get him back is huge. And then also too, like Noah Souls. I know that when I was talking to you, Justin, late last season, he was a guy that was kind of borderline on going pro or not, and so I think to get him back is huge. And because I'm easily looking at 4 or 5 guys easily just in the outfield, I'm like, any of them could start. So which I know we'll kind of dive into a little bit more here, but what would you say was the most exciting offseason news in your opinion for you, Justin?
I would say the pitchers that all came back, and the ones that came in that we didn't expect to come in the freshman class that a lot of people didn't expect to come in.
Yeah,
because some of these guys, no one knew that they were going to even come in. Everybody thought they were going to sign out of high school, and then like Gupton, that's another one outfielder. He's probably one of the fastest guys since Trey Turner's been here.
Well, he actually clocked faster.
Yeah.
He unofficially set a world record in the 60-yard dash at 5.96. Yeah. So he's going, it'll be interesting to see how he plays into this, whether, he's going to be maybe like a pinch runner type situation, spot starts in the outfield. There's a lot of depth out in the outfield, so that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, well, and obviously, I think the biggest one for sure, Carter Trice, 2021 All-American is definitely the highlight from Old Dominion, and that's a guy that that has nationally been talked about as like this guy might absolutely light it up at NC State, and couldn't have come at a better time. Obviously, losing Devontae Brown. Has been a great piece for us for years now. I think Carter Trice can easily jump in and be that guy. But kind of similar question, what piece of offseason news kind of, what was the piece that kind of stood out to you the most from the offseason?
The new guys in general, like Justin touched on, but the portal in general, I think, just with the day and age in college athletics and guys moving interconference, moving up from group of 5 teams to power 5 teams. You got a couple guys like Gio from the West Coast. He's coming all the way over the East Coast to play. There's an ample amount of talent that we brought in there aren't new guys. They've had college experience for multiple years, and they're just going to fit right in, I think. Offensively, it's the replacement. I wouldn't say we upgraded because it's hard to upgrade from Devontae and the other guy. So it's going to be interesting though to see, kind of what we do and who plays where, but there's ample amounts of guys that can swing it. And I think there's going to be a good amount of guys that are going to throw it too.
Yeah. Well, and just to kind of, touch on to some of Carter Trice's accolades up until this point. So he earned second team All CUSA honors in 2022, earned second team All-American. He was a first team All-American freshman team, first team All CUSA, freshman of the year honors in 2021, hit 324, slugged 411, and on base was 411, then slugging was 620. So again, just absolutely crushed it during his time at Old Dominion. So definitely looking forward to having him. But also too, another thing as well, I think was the biggest thing was, I think the biggest piece of clutch was Davidson not having a graduate school. Because we basically got 2 of their top guys of the team that beat us during the midweek matchup. So definitely looking forward to having those 2 big hitters coming to NC State as well. Again, just to replace some of that lost offense we have. Go ahead, Greg.
No, for me, like you were asking about the storylines. For me, it's all the moving pieces. We're bringing in 17 new guys, 10 via the portal, and 17. Wait, maybe I have it backwards. I think it's 17 transfers, 10 incoming freshmen, and in that incoming class, it's a top 25 class. So just to see quickly how that plays out. And then we already kind of mentioned it, but with Brown, but like who's going to replace JT? Between him and Devontae, you had almost 1,500 plate appearances and like over 300 games started throughout their career. That's a lot of veteran leadership that you're losing. So who's going to be your new leaders in that clubhouse? Like who's going to, obviously you probably would lean on Sam, right? Cause he's been there a while. But that's for the pitchers, but who's going to be your positional leader? That's going to be something to look at when when you might have a 1-2-3 game losing streak. Who's gonna have that players only meeting to go, hey boys, we need to get it going.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I think too, it's funny you said JT. He's a guy that would love the turf foul lines. Lay a bunt down third baseline. He probably was 80% on a bunt to begin with, but he's up in the 90-95 range. If he's got turf, he can scoot.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
And let me ask you this too, Ken, as well, is that, obviously I think one of the biggest issues that we had last season was errors more on the infield side, which definitely a lot of that went to, obviously we were just kept on, changing, our infield lineup, and a lot of guys that, weren't overly experienced as well, so, lineup wise, what are we kind of seeing? Because again, I mean, you lost Josh Hood, you lost JT Jarrett, third base was never really set ever. So the only thing you really have returning from the infield was Gino Groover on first base. So what's that kind of looking at for in your head for between Kent and Justin? I really am interested on that.
I think Peyton Green's going to play a bigger factor this year. I know he played a lot early in the year, and then he struggled defensively at shorts. They moved him to third and then kind of tried him there. But I think getting a full year under his belt on the left side of the infield, I think he's going to be a lot more solid at shortstop, and he'll be able to kind of lead that infield because as a pitcher, we rely a lot on the shortstop. He runs a decent amount of our defensive sets, especially on bunt plays, pick plays, all that kind of stuff. So he's got a full year under his belt. He knows what to do, I think, now, and he'll be able to kind of not think as much and just use his athleticism and play the game and be able to just be smooth and not so segmented and worrying about, I got the ball, I got to throw it now, I got to worry about, where's the runner, what's going on, all the other, external factors other than just, playing baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Justin, anything
Ken, I think you bring up a really good point.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Greg. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Ken, I think you bring up a good point about shortstop. And now that, Green will have had a full year, he's seen these hitters in the ACC, right? And so, it's not obviously scouting reports mean a lot, but in game action, you can't replace that. So I think to your point, it'll feel more natural, more comfortable, and maybe he's a guy that takes on that leadership role as being the quarterback or the captain of that defense.
Agreed.
I think a big one too that'll help is a year under the belt of Cozart. I think him behind the dish being as solid as he was to the end of the year. I think with him having a full off season, getting a little bit stronger maybe, and working on his craft a little bit, he's going to be able to help a lot of guys out position wise because he'll know hitters better too. Just like you mentioned, Greg, I think that should be a big boost for the overall infield.
Yeah, no, and I think Cozart, because I mean at NC State we've been lucky enough to have some really great catchers over the years between Brett Austin, the one with the Cardinals right now, Andrew Kisner as well. And I think Cozart could easily add his name into that list by the time he's done here at NC State. But yeah, Justin, what are your kind of thoughts? Anything to add to that?
My thoughts on the lineup, I think third base is probably going to be Groover. Gino Groover probably at third.
Really?
Peyton Green that short. First base is pretty much Serrano and Marcy.
Wow.
Second base is pretty much like Khalil Harris, transfer from Texas A&M. Karsten Folkston, who's back from injury, who was part of that Pac-13 game. And then freshman Isaiah Barkett. That's pretty much what the infield's looking like pretty much with those battles. And outfield, like we said earlier, outfield's pretty much loaded. Anybody can play an outfield right now. But I think Noah Souls has pretty much a spot out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure.
No, for sure. Yeah. I don't think he would have come back unless he pretty much, was said, you'll get field.
And then you got Don Palali and Carl Trask. Those two guys can DH if they're not in the outfield.
And Parker Nolan, too. Where are you going to put Parker Nolan?
Center field.
Okay.
And then you got.
I was going to say, Justin, you hit it nail on the head. Dom was the next guy I was thinking of. That he might not have a spot in the outfield, but you DH that guy and you get him in the groove of things. He's got another full off season, healthy, hopefully. After his ACL at Charlotte. So I think now with him being able to have a full year rehab that whole thing and get back to full health, he's going to be an X factor, I think, potentially.
Yeah. And then the other Davidson kid, he can play in right field too. Trevor.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, we got speed.
That was the next point I was going to make, is like, with all of that, one thing that most people won't know is Palali was 4 or 5 in stolen bases last year, and that was coming off of an ACL. To your point, Ken, I think he's only going to be stronger and probably faster. So I think you lost a lot of pop probably with 4-7 leaving, but I think you're going to see a lot more manufactured runs this year with State, putting yourself in a lot of hit and runs, just straight up steals. Because the one thing that played against us last year was putting pressure on the defense with all of the mental mistakes and errors. If you reverse that and put it on the other team, I think you're going to create a lot more havoc and a lot more opportunity for runs.
And to your point too, Greg, I don't know if a lot of people know, but that wall in left field is no longer there. It's the same way. It's the same size all the way around. So that Doak stream to left is even more in play. So even the smaller guys, they get the ball up in the air. It's going. It's not going to be hitting off the top of the wall anymore.
Yeah. That Doak stream probably wasn't a friend of yours back in the day, I would say.
No, I did not like it as much. No.
I hear you. So that being said, y'all, we're going to take a pause right there, and we will pick up here for pick this conversation up in part 2 here. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about definitely the speed side, which I think is going to be a big thing that we hope to improve on and feel a good chance to improve on heading into this season. So with that being said, just as a reminder, if you haven't already, again, make sure to go check out Justin and Kent. Kent, I know that you're starting up getting ready for spring ball right now. Where can Pac-9 fans keep up with you and what's going on with you?
So I'm playing in the Frontier League Independent Baseball. It's Florence, Kentucky. It's about 15-20 minutes south of Cincinnati, Ohio. And so I'll be there. Spring training's in April, and we start second week. I think it's the 12th this year of May, playing all the way through September, every day but Monday. So it's a lot of fun though. A lot of baseball, a lot of time on the road. We play games in Chicago, New Jersey, New York, all the way up into Canada. I think we got a week that we spent in Canada this year. So it's a lot of fun though. I'm just glad to be able to still play.
That's amazing. Yeah, I can definitely wishing the best for you there, man, for sure. But again, y'all, we'll still continue our conversation here with Justin Kent. And by the way, I mean, if you're a State fan, you know where to find Justin. So if it's not on Twitter, you can find him in the outfield during all in-state practices or pretty much every single Pac-9 game. So I think that goes without being said. But thank you all so much again for tuning in. Make sure again for us, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, which is free to do, and that way you're notified on all your devices whenever we go live with any new NC State content. And also, too, if you don't mind as well, if you're excited for NC State baseball, hit that like button. We really appreciate that. And also to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter and Instagram. But thank you all so much again. We'll see you off part 2. Go Pack, y'all.